Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Licensing and Regulatory Committee. There are no fire drills planned for this evening. In the event of a fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the nearest exit and make your way to the assembly point located in the Market car park adjacent to the Civic Suite building. Please be reminded to switch off your mobile phone and turn any other electronic devices to silent. And the meeting will be live streamed where the proceedings are capable of repeated viewing. Please ensure that your microphone is switched on when speaking and that you speak clearly into the microphone. If members are for any reason not present for the whole debate on an item, you should consider and seek advice as necessary on whether it would be appropriate for you to vote on that item. Item 1, apologies for absence and substitute members. Apologies from Councillor Belton, Councillor Myers, Councillor Ian Wilson and Councillor Williams. Are there any other apologies, members? Okay. Item 2, non-members attending. There are no non-members attending. Item 3, the minutes of the meeting held on the 28th of March 2024. Are the minutes agreed, members? Thank you. Item 4 is to receive any declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? Item 5 is public questions on notice, and none have been received. So we can move on to item 6, which is fees and charges 2025 to 26, the budget for licensing service, and I'll hand this over to our licensing officer, Stephen Greener. The report begins on page 6.1. And the purpose of this report is to request the approval of the Licensing and Regulatory Committee to approve the fee structure for 2025-26 financial year. Mr. Greener, do you have anything to add to the report?
No, I've got nothing additional to add to the report, but just to quickly go through some of the recommendations. The recommendation is that the committee approves the licensing service fees for 2025-26 as outlined within the report. As detailed in the report, some of the fees are set by statutory, by government, some are capped, and there's a handful of areas that can actually be set by local authority as outlined in 2.11 of the report. Those being scrap metal, animal licensing, zoo licensing, sexual entertainment licenses, street traders licenses and taxi and private hire licensing. We did some work this year already around the taxi license fees as well as the street trading fees, so they haven't been reviewed, but the others have been outlined in 2.15 of the report. Just any questions from any of the members?
Are there any questions, members, on the report? Okay, I'll move from the chair then that the recommendations set out on page 6.1 of the report are agreed. The recommendation is that the committee approves the licensing service fees for 2025-26 as set out in the report. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lambourne. Can I have a vote by a show of hands? All in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That motion is carried. Item 7 on the agenda is the Gambling Act's policy review. This report begins on page 7.1. The committee is requested to review the findings of the public consultation in relation to updating the gambling policy and to approve the progress to full council for approval. Mr. Greener, do you have anything to add to the report?
Again, just a very quick summary that we have a statutory duty under the Gambling Act to review the policy and to make sure that it goes out for public consultation. There has been a white paper recently from the Gambling Commission about some potential changes That hasn't been published so far, but has indicated that it will take the findings will be published within the next sort of 12 months. This purpose obviously is to sign off to meet the deadline that we have to meet in relation to maintaining the policy in place, and then there'll be a more detailed review later on in the year. So nothing else from me unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Greener. Are there any questions from members? Councillor Shaw, Mrs. Shaw.
Thank you. Steve, when it comes back in, I take it we'll have another meeting to review what they're proposing, yes?
Yes, absolutely. We will be reviewing all the recommendations, looking at them in detail. Any sort of changes will then have to go for a public consultation again, and then we will then present the report back to the committee with the findings and the recommendations.
Are there any other questions, members? Okay, I will move from the chair the recommendations set out on page 7.1 of the report, which is to approve the statement of licensing policy for gambling for implementation and progression to full council for approval. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Mrs. Shaw, thank you. So we'll move to the vote. All those in favour of that proposition to approve the statement of licensing policy? That's also unanimous. Thank you very much. That concludes the business for this evening. Thank you for your attendance. The meeting is closed at 19:37. Thank you very much, members.